I'm going to share my screen with you guys. All right. Okay, so this is my screen. So I expect that you should be, you should have opened your Spider IDE. So you should have something similar to this. So if you haven't used Spider before, that's fine. So you can explore, play around with it. So, but basically, first is your console, the IPython console. So this console is used for testing few lines of code. So if you want to test some few lines of code, you can use your IPython console. Example, so let's say I want to create a variable, a is equal to 5. So I want to say print a. Okay, so it executes and displays my result. So the IPython console helps to display the results of your executed code using the command interface. So one other thing you need to know, for this particular class, you can create a new file. So to create a new file, you go to File, New. So you need to save the file. You need to save the file. So it's either you go to File, Save, or you press Ctrl S. So you can save it anywhere on your system. It could be on your desktop, whatever. So for my own case, I'm saving it in a folder I call Express String. So I'm going to save it as maybe Zoom class. Then once you give it a name, you click Save. All right, so we'll be working with a file later on, but I just want to show you. So first, make sure you created your file, you save it, and know where you save it. So if you choose to save it anywhere else, that is fine. But by default, once you create a new file and you click on Save, the Spider will save it in its default folder, which is usually in your, let's say, new. So let's say by default, I click on Save, Ctrl S. So by default, the Spider will save in the default folder, which is usually on your current your user directory, as in the C drive in my own case, then users 40. So if you go to your main directory, you'll see the Spider. Open the Spider. So normally by default, it will save it here for you. So all your codes will be saved here. That's if you choose to use the default saving setting in Spider. So I'm going to close that and just bring up my PowerPoint slides for today. All right, so before I continue, I'll close my slides just to check that every one of you are okay and if there are other people who are trying to do it. Okay. So I believe you've opened your Spider by now. All right. So if you have any issues, it's either you, I'm going to unmute so you can communicate. So you're free to talk if you have any issues, since we're not that many. Otherwise, you can leave a message in the message box. So I'm going to talk through what we're going to do in the next 50 to 55 minutes from the slides. Okay, so today we'll focus on how to use Python to develop graphic user interface. So I'm sure probably we are all aware of what graphic user interface is. It means, it's just a simple window that allows you to interact with your system. Either it could be a laptop, it could be a phone, it could be whatever portable device, electronic device. So that interface that allows you to click, save, delete is called a graphic user interface. So it's one of the most interesting aspects of programming. So that is why I'm focusing on using Python to design a graphic user interface today. All right, so there are different applications or packages you can use to design or develop your uh, graphic user interface. So examples are the ones I've highlighted here, but today I'll be focusing on Tkinter. That's the way I call it, Tkinter, T, capital T, and Kinter. All right, so by default, once you install Anaconda, Tkinter comes with your, as a package with your Spider IDE. So you don't need to install the Tkinter package on your um, IDE anymore. But if you're using other forms of IDE like the Python IDLE, so you may need to install the package on that. But with Spider, it already comes bundled with the installation, so which is good. We don't need to install any other package for this. Okay, so this is an example of a graphic user interface that has been designed using Python. So this is for restaurant management. So on this graphic user interface, there are a lot of widgets. I will talk about widgets in a minute. So first is you have your complete window, which tells you the overall size of how your GI is going to look like. So the window is there. So next is what they call frames. So frames allows you, like this is a frame, the top frame. This is a frame. So this is another frame here. So frames allows you to partition your window into different segments or sections. So like in this case, this person has a top frame, which we use for it to display its restaurant management system. Another frame on this side, which is a left frame, and another frame on this side, which is a right frame. So within this left frame, the person has divided into two more frames, so you can have multiple division of frames. So this frame contains all the menus for the restaurant, while this frame, the bottom one, contains the drinks. While on the right frame, you have your calculator at the top frame, the receipt section, the middle frame, and the bottom frame, you have your buttons that is to calculate total receipt, reset, and receipt. So this is a typical example of a graphic user interface that's been developed using Python. So, but for today, because the time is not enough, I won't be working on this. I just want to show us how to use some of these widgets. And of course, at our own time, we can go and develop all of this. All right, so these are the widgets. So there are a lot of widgets you can play around with. Button, canvas, check button, entry, frames, label, list box, menu. You want to create a menu on your application, menu button. Message, that is, if there's, you say you want to close your application, you need a message box to pop up. You say, are you sure you want to exit, or you want to quit, or you want to continue? So you can do something like that. Radio button, scales, you want to show how is a moving slider, a slider to show how the progress of maybe an operation you are performing. Scroll bars, text, and top level. So top level enables you to position your frames, and components, and all of that. So today we'll just look at how to use some of these, not all, and you can go later on to explore the rest by yourself. All right, so design a graphic user interface. You need at least 5 major steps. So I'm going to pause just to check that everything is okay. So, hello. Hope everyone is following. I just want to check that everyone is following. Welcome, Winda. Are you? Thanks for joining. So we've just started, and you are not very late. So what I'm trying to do is to talk through what we'll be doing today for this class. So basically, we're going to learn how to use Python programming to develop graphic user interface. So if you have any question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you leave a message in the box. All right, so I just continue. Okay. So there are 5 basic steps if you want to design your graphic user interface. Number 1, you need to have draw the layout of your graphic user interface, maybe on a paper or whatever. So you need to walk through, design the concept first. So you do the design where you want your buttons to be, your pictures to be, whatever. So you need to design how you want to arrange your pixel, how one page is going to communicate with the next page, what's going to be on that page. So that's the first step to do. So the second step would be to import the necessary libraries into your Python environment for you to be able to develop or create your Python, your graphic design interface. So another thing is the third step is for you to create your graphic user interface window. So I'll show you how to do that. So after creating the window, that is the window is the one that contains all the widgets. You have to create that. You have to create, define the dimensions, the background colors, and some of those properties. You need to do that. Then the next step will be to add widgets. That is all the components you want to be on the window. Then the last part will be to implement whatever actions. So meaning you want to click an OK button. So if you click that button, how do you want your window to respond? How do you want your application to respond? So you need to implement the action. So those are the 5 basic steps, in terms of designing your graphic design interface. So, so this is a typical example that we're going to work on today. So we're going to design this graphic design interface. So this graphic interface has a window that is the main container for the whole widget. It has 2 frames. So one frame for the top and the second frame for the bottom. So this is the top frame, the bottom frame. So the top frame is going to fill up the top space, while the bottom frame will just be the default size beneath the top frame. So on the top frame, I'm going to add 2 labels. The first label is to show what my graphic design interface is all about. So like the restaurant, whatever signboard you want to put there, whatever thing. So while the second label, I want to display 1, 2, or 3, meaning anytime I click these buttons, if I click the button 1, it should display 1. If I click button 2, it should display 2. If I click button 3, it should display 3, right? So I'll just demonstrate what I've done before we continue. So if you can see my screen, so this is what we're going to be developing today. So if I click on 1, so by default, if I run the application or the codes, this is what is going to open. So what I want it to do is if I click on 1, I want it to change the display to 1. If I click on 2, change to 2. And if I click on 3, change to 3. So if I click on 1, changes to 1. If I click on 2, 2. If I click on 3, 3. So once you know how to do this, you can be able to transfer that knowledge into making your own application. So your own application could be like the restaurant management system. It could be like a file management system, e-store, whatever. So you'll be able to use those skills to do that. So let's go back to the slides and see what we can do. All right. So this is what we're going to do today. So this is my layout design. That's the first step. This is what I want to design. Okay. So, but before I continue, because I'm not sure if some of us are already used to Python, so I'll just quickly go through some of the basics that we'll be using for this application development. So first, you need to know what comment means, how to create a variable, how to create a function, and of course, let's get used to the Spider IDE. So once again, I go back to my Spider. So I'm going to close my application. I go back to my Spider. Okay. Right. So let's do some practice before we go into the design and development. All right. So now if you have opened your Spider, if you look at this IPython console, so let's do some practice. So if you want to clear this, all the information on your console, so maybe once you open your console could be maybe 1A, 2A, never mind, depends on how many times you close and open, so it keeps increasing the number. So once you have your console open, I can clear the console by typing the command clear. So if I type clear and I press enter, so it clears my console for me, which is good. So first, a variable. So how do we create a variable? A variable could be any name. So I can say, let's say, boy. I can create a variable called boy, and I want to store a value in my variable boy. So let's say 5 or 6. So once I do that, boy is equal to 6. I press enter. So it's going to store the value 6 in my variable called boy. Now I want to see what is in boy. I want to print it out. So I just use my print command, print boy, enter. So it prints whatever is in boy. Okay. So that is if you're dealing with okay. So that is if you're dealing with numbers. So let's say we want to deal with string. I want to print a string. So string is just combination of characters, right? So for me to print strings of characters, I need to use the quotation mark. So I want to print string. I want to print my name is Elijah. So all I need to do is print. You need to open your parentheses, then use your quotation mark. Open quotation mark, don't forget. And then you type my name is Elijah. Then you close your quotation mark this way. So if I do this and I press enter, so it prints my name is Elijah. Okay, so that's one way to use your console. So again, another function of the console is it helps to display our result when we run a file. So now the console, I can use it to test some simple codes, but let's say I want to develop an application that has 1,000 lines of codes. I cannot use my console. So I need to create a file to save my codes in that file. And to do that, so again, for those who joined late, you go to File, and you click Open, New File. So when you click New File, it's going to open this file with untitled whatever number. So once it does that, you need to save it. So you can save it as any name. So to save, just go back to your file, click on Save, or just press Ctrl S, and it's going to save. So again, you can save it anywhere. You can save it on your desktop, save it on any folder, but by default, it is the Spider IDE will save in the Spider folder location that is on your C drive or your main drive of your system. So I'll just close that now. So let's say you've opened your okay. So let's say you've opened your file and you've saved. So in my own case, I saved as Zoom_class. So again, I want to repeat my print statement. So I want to say print my name is Elijah. Okay. All right. So the good thing about this Spider ID is once you open a bracket, it automatically closes it for you. So you don't have to type open bracket, type close bracket. So it automatically fills it up. Then you can write in whatever you want to write. So if I do this and I want to run this code, so I want to execute this code, I want to run it, and I want to see the result. So what I need to do, so first I can clear my console first. So I will see what happens. So now you can see there's nothing on my console, but once I run, it's going to display my result on my console. So to do that, I click on run. So it shows my name is Elijah. So if there's no error, it will automatically print whatever. And if there's an error, it will display the error on your console. So let's say I do something like this. Let's see if I can introduce an error. So the good thing is it gives you some warning. Sometimes it tells you there's an error. So if I run, so because there's an error here, it tells you end of line Y scanning string right there. That is, you couldn't find the end of the end of the quotation mark. So again, it prints the error on my console. So to fix the error, I just need to make sure I check my syntax. Then I run again. If I run, then it shows my name is Elijah. All right. So that's how to print or dealing with strings. So again, how to use comments. So let's say I want to do something like this. I want to say next line. Let's say print 4 plus 5. Okay. So print 4 plus 5. So if I run, it automatically executes the first line, execute the second line. Of course, you can see the results on your console. However, if I don't want it to print execute the second line 9, that is print purpose, right? I can just use my hash symbol. So when I use my hash symbol, it's going to comment that line, meaning once you execute your code, this line will not be executed. So if I run, click on run, so it just prints my name is Elijah. Of course, it doesn't execute the next line of code, which is print purpose, fine. So once we know how to do that, I think that's good. So are we all together? If you have any issues, let me know. So I'd like you to run these lines of code and print them on your console. So I'll do another one, print. Let's say, so I want to print combination of numbers and strings. So I could do something like this. Print, say, multiply 3 times 4, okay? Then I can use a comma because I want to print multiply 3 times 4. All right, I want to print multiply 3 times 4. Then I also want to say another string. Say result is. Okay. So if I have something like this, multiply 3 times 4, and I say the result is. So I'm going to finish this, then I'll check up with you guys. Just a minute. So multiply 3 times 4, the result is, then I want to print the result. Let's say I say, okay, I create a variable here to say result is equal to 3 times 4. All right. So result is equal to 3 times 4. So I want to print multiply 3 times 4. The result is, then I also want to print the result. So I can just put the result here. All right. So what happening here is this, the result of this multiplication is stored in this variable. So I can use my print function to print out what is in the content of the variable. So if I run this code, so I'm going to have multiply 3 times 4, the result is 12. Okay? So I'm going to pause to see that every one of us we are together. So I will stop sharing my screen for now and check up with you guys. How about now? Can you see?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so apology. So I presume you guys didn't see what was happening before now on the spider. Okay, so I'm going to go through it very quickly again. So I said on your spider, you should have something like this if you created your new file. So to create a new file, new file, select a new file. Then once you create a new file, it will automatically open as untitled file. So you can press Control S to save. So once you save, it tells you to save. So you can save on any location on your system, go in your desktop, your folder, whatever. So once you save, give it a name, whatever name you give it to. So in my own case, I'll save it as Zoom class. It could be any name, but make sure there's no space in between the. If you're using 2 words for your file, it's always safer to save that way. Okay, so cancel. All right, so I said I was going to show you a few things. First is creating variables. So to create a variable, you just need to give it a variable name. So example, let's say I want to multiply 2 numbers 3 times 4. I will say result. Result is equal to 3 asterisk 4. So 3 times 4. So I want to print out my result. I can just use the print function. Print result. Okay. So once I run my code, my file. So to run the file, just click on this green button, please run. Once you run, it's going to display, okay, oh, sorry, I'm using mine. All right, so I'm going to open my other file. So if you have an existing file, you can just go to open, Zoom class, open, okay? All right, so let's say I have all of these, I put this back, okay? So if I run this code, of course, you can see the results on my Python console. So to clear my Python console, just type the keyword clear, or wipe off whatever is there. So let's say I want to print this. I say I want to print. Okay, I said I want to print a string. So string, you must use your quotation mark. So my name is Elijah. Okay. All right. So if I use that and I run, so it's going to print my name is Elijah. Okay. So let's say I want to print something combination of strings and numbers. So I can use the print. Okay. So it's going to be maybe multiply 3 times 4. So you need to create a comma if you want to create multiple strings. So multiply 3 times 4. I could say the result is then put a semicolon, then close. Then I could say print my result, which is the variable result. So I can put that there. Okay. So be careful when you're writing your codes. Make sure it's if you're using a quotation mark, make sure you use quotation mark, double quotation mark. If you're using a single quotation mark, make sure it's single quotation mark for your string. They all work the same. All right. So if I run this, I will have something like this. Multiply 3 times 4, the result is 12. Okay, good. So another thing I want to show you guys, so the comment. So let's say I don't want to execute this line. I could just use my hash symbol to comment out that line. So this comments this line. So meaning if I run my code, this line is not going to be executed. So if I clear this guy, press enter and I run. So you can see it did not print out my name is Elijah because I have commented. Okay, good. So that is all for now. So let's go into design our graphic design interface. So the first step is to design your interface on paper. So the second step now is to create your window. So we're gonna go together to try and make it as fast as possible. So you just follow me, type in the lines of code. Hopefully, at every point, once I finish, I will stop to check that they are on the same page. So I can just highlight all of this and comment it because I don't need it anymore for now. So to do that, if you have multiple lines you want to comment out, just highlight the whole line. So to do that, just right click from where you want to start, hold your right click, then drag to where you want to comment, then right click, uh, left click, then you click on comment. So it comments the whole line for us. So we don't want to execute that. So let's start with our graphic user design, interface design. So first, I need to import my library. Very important. So you need to type in this code from C inter import, then asterisk. So this is the syntax to import this library. So like I said, we have different libraries that can be used for designing your graphic design interface. But for this class, we're going to be using Tkinter. Okay, so first thing you need to do is to import it. So if you have installed Anaconda and you're using Spider IDE, by default, it's already installed as part of the packages. But if you're using a different IDE, like Python IDLE or others, you will need to import the library first before you can use it. As in, install the library first before you can use it. But the good thing about Anaconda 3, it helps you to install a lot of packages that you can use. So one of them is Tkinter. All right, so you type from Tkinter import. So that is done. So you run. If I run this, you can see it shows me the next line. So it has executed, but I can't see anything. Why? Because I haven't given it any instruction to do anything. So what if I just simply done is it has imported all the libraries into my Spider IDE, which it will allow me to work with. Okay, so the next step is to create your window for your GUI. So to do that, you're going to type some lines of code. So you just follow me. So I can put a comment here to say create my window. So that's just to help you know what you're doing. Maybe somebody else wants to see your code, knows what to, you're trying to create a window. So First, you need to create a variable called my GUI. Okay, so it could be any name. It could be any name. So for now, I just use my GUI is equal to uh, TK, then parentheses. TK parentheses. So make sure this T is a capital T and a small k. Otherwise, you have a problem. So because what this is doing is creating an object of this class, TK, which is part of the TK library. Okay? So once you do that, next line, you need to define the size of your window. So we're going to do something. So you're going to use the object you've created, my GUI, then dot geometry. Then you need to specify the size of your window. So I'm going to use 500 by 500. Okay. So my GUI is going to this. Then I want to define the size of my, sorry, not D, sorry, it's G, geometry, otherwise there's going to be an error. So I want to define the size of my window. So it could be anything. It could be 500 by 700. It depends on how small, how big. So it's going to take this dimension from the screen of your laptop. All right. So next thing I want to do is this. I want to put in a function. So my GUI dot main loop. Okay. So this allows my window to stay active once I run my code. Otherwise, if you run it, it will execute, but it will be so fast that you won't see it. You think it didn't run. Actually, it did, but because I want it to continue to be visible, so I need to use this function. Otherwise, I will not be able to see. So if you do this, let's do that and run. Let's see if we have our window working. Good. So I've created my window, which is this. Okay. So this is my window. So I hope you're all following. Everyone with me? So I've created my own window. So I'm going to give you some time to create your own window. So again, first import. Okay, so let me continue. So if you have done that, so you should have your window working. So I'm going to share my slides. Then we try to do the other stuff. Okay. All right, so you should have your window running. So if your window is running, you will see the symbol of spider. So this is the first one is for the Spider IDE. So the second one represents your window, which you have just created. So my Zoom is acting up, is going off and on. So it's stopping my screen sharing. I'm going to share again. All right, so back again. All right, so the next thing is we can change the color of our window to any color. So to do that, you just need to do my GUI dot configure. So you need to specify what you want to configure. So you want to configure the background. Background is equal to, so I want to use, I'm going to need, so sorry, make sure your spelling is correct. Background. Background is equal to, so you need to specify what kind of color you want to have there. So if I use blue, okay, so I want to say my background should be a blue color. So if I run this again, okay, so I do again, there was an error there. All right, good, okay. Okay, so if I run this, it's going to change my background of my window to blue. So if you have created your window, if you can change the color to blue, whatever color you want to have it, red, blue. So this is the second step. So first step is import your library. Second step is to create your window. So let's move ahead. Okay. So the next thing is I want to create my frames. So I'm going to create two frames, the top frame and the bottom frame. So you just follow me. So for the frame, so I can put a comment here to say create my frames. All right. So the first frame, I can create a variable and name it top frame. So top frame is equal to, now you're going to be calling the widgets now. So this is where you learn how to use the widget. So I want to use the widget frame. So you have to specify frame. So that's the widget name. Then, so now I need to tell my code where to place my frame. So I want to place it on my GUI window, the one I created. So I'm going to put my GUI. All right. So, comma, then I want to define the width of the frame. Width is equal to, let's say, 500. And the height is equal to 300. Okay. All right. So if I run this, I won't see any difference at the moment. So the next thing is I need to activate the frame, which I've just created. And to do that, so you just take the name of the variable, Control C, because you have created an object. Then you put dot pack, all right? Then I need to define where I want it to be positioned. So you use this function, side is equal to, let's say top, okay? Then I want to fill up the top, the frame. So I want to say top is equal to top, yeah. Then to do that, I will say fill. So book, all right? Then the last thing is I will expand. I will expand it. So if I want it expanded, I will have to put true. Okay. So this has created my first frame. Then I could specify the color of the frame. So I could say background color BG is equal to let's say gray. All right. So let me run this and let's see what we have. So to run that, I will close my window. So this is my initial window. I'm going to close it and run again. All right, so it has created a frame with a gray color, but because I said it should fill and expand, it has filled the whole window, which is fine for now. So we've created our top frame. So let's create our bottom frame. To do that, just copy this line of codes, press enter, and you paste. But we need to change the variable name. So I'm going to change the variable name to bottom frame. So make sure you change the variable name bottom frame. So I've changed the variable name to bottom frame because this is another frame I'm creating. All right. So again, the same procedure, all of that. Then the only thing I need to change here is my location. Where do I want to put it? So it has to be bottom in this case, not top, because I want it to be underneath the first frame. So I'm going to write the bottom there, which is BOTTOM. So, but I don't want to fill it up. I don't need all of these. So I just delete it. So it's just going to be underneath the first frame. All right. So if I run this, I need to run to make sure there is no error. Okay. Right, good. So it has created the two frames, but because the first one is filling up the whole window, so it's like it's underneath the first one. But never mind. When I begin to add my other widgets to the frames, then you will see the frame clearly. So now we need to, after creating our frames, so we need to add the widgets to the frame. So first, I want to add my buttons, 1, 2, 3 buttons to my bottom frame. So to do that, you need to, so again, comment, create buttons. All right. So to do that, you need to create a variable, say button, button 1. It could be anything, any variable name is equal to. So you need to call the button widget. So to do that, you say button your parentheses. So now we need to define where we want to place our button. So it has to be on our bottom frame. Okay, so we need to copy this name, Control C. So that will be the first thing there. So I want to place the button on my bottom frame. A comma. Then what do I want to display on the button? So I need to tell the text is equal to, let's say, 1. Okay. So other things, I need to define the height of the button. So to do that, just say height is equal to 2, comma. Then width is equal to 10. Okay. Then, okay. So now this is my button which I've created, but if I run this code now, I might not see it on my button on my bottom frame. So I need to define where I need it to be located. So to do that, we use what they call grid. So just put a dot after this and type grid, a dot and grid. So the grid, you need to specify where you want it to be. So I want it to be on, let's say, row 0, comma, for, row is equal to 0, then column is equal to 1. Column is equal to 0. So because there are 3 buttons on the same row, so the row is going to be the same, row 0, but the columns will be different. So column 0, 1, 2 for the 3 buttons. So if I run this now, let's run this and see what happens. So this is my window which I've created so far, or my GI. If I close it and run, so it's always good to run so that you know when there's an error. So I've created my first button, button 1. So if I click on it, nothing is happening, but you can see it moving, right? So I'm going to add the other 2 buttons. So this is my bottom frame, and this is my top frame. All right? So let's add the 2 other buttons. So all you need to do is just copy these guys. No need to type. Control C. Paste. But then you have to change the names of the variable. So this to 2. And the other thing, the same size. But the location now, using the grid. So I need to put it on column 1. So that's just immediately after it, column 1. So again, if I run my codes, and I'll have something like this. So 1, 2. All right? So let's create the third one. Control C. Okay, so again, change the button to 3 and make sure your column is changed to 2. So 0, 1, 2. That's the only thing you're changing. So again, if I run, I will have my 1, 1, 1. Okay, so I've created 3 buttons, right? So if you notice, the text on each of the buttons are the same, but that's not what I want to do. I want to have 1, 2, 3. So let's see how that works. So all you need to do is just come to where you have your text and change to 2. Okay, then this one to 3. All right, so this is my window before. So if I close that and I run, there's 1, 2, and 3. Is that okay? All right, so now let's take our label and put our label on our top frame. So let's see how that works. So again, you can just come in here and say, create labels. So to create your label, so again, you need to define the variable names. Label to be anything. So if I say label 1 is equal to, then I need to call my label widget, label. Okay, then open the function with your parentheses, right? So again, I need to specify where I want to place my label. So to do that, so first we create the label. So let's define the text we want to display on the label. So text is equal to, let's say, Elijah um, UI. Okay. Then I could specify the width. Width is equal to 50. Then I could say centralize. I want it to be the text to be in the middle of the label. So I could use anchor. Um, Anchor is equal to C. All right. So I've created my label. So I need to place it on my frame, top frame. To do that, all you need to do is again take the name of the label you've created, copy, then use your dot and use another function called place. All right. So place, open your parentheses. Then you need to specify by saying in underscore. So where do you want to place it? I want to place it in. Then you need to tell where you want to place it. So I want to place it on my top frame. So I'll take the name of the top frame. I'll place it here. Then I will say the location. So for using place, I need to define the location on my screen. So it could be X, that's the X location. So I could say 100, and Y location could be 80. So you can play around with this until you find a suitable place for your the location for your label. So if I run this now, let's see what we have. Good. So you can see I've created my label and it's on my top frame while I've created my three buttons on my bottom frame. So now if I press 1, 2, 3, nothing is happening. But what I want you to do is if I press 1, you should change the text on my label to 1. If I press 2, change to 2. If I press 3, change to 3. So to do that, we go to the final stage of your graphic user interface design, which is implementation. That is, you implement the actions. So let's see how we do that. All right, so let me minimize this. So one thing you need to do first is to you need to create what they call your functions. So your functions will define what action that needs to be done. So in this case, to do that, so you create your function by using the def keyword, def. So if I say display underscore one, so that is the function name. Okay. So do that, you need to put your semicolon and press enter. Okay, so now I want to change the text on my label. So what it's going to do is I will take all of this, copy, come to my function and place it there. So you need to be mindful of indentation. One of the things about Python is if your codes are not properly indented, then you're going to get some error. So make sure these are all on the same line, otherwise there will be some error. All right. So in this case, I have labeled the place. Okay. So now I can change this text to what I want it to be. So if I say 1, okay. So I could do something like this. All right. Okay. So this is the function for my action. So I'm going to call this function on my button 1. So I'll show you how to do that. So just copy the function name. So now you go to the button. Okay. So at this point, you put command. Then you have to give it a command. Command is equal to the function name. All right. So this command, once you say this command, it's going to call this function and it will implement whatever is in the function. So let's try that and see how this works for our button 1. So again, notice if I do 1, nothing happens, right? So if I close and run again. So let me click on 1. So if you notice, it has changed my label description to 1. So if I click 2, nothing happens. Click 3, nothing happens. So I'm going to repeat the same procedure for my button 2 and 3. So let me go back to my code. So to do that, just simply copy, go back to your function, copy all of these, Control C, then Control V. All right. So, but what you need to do, you have to change the name of the function. So change this to true. Okay. Then change the text, what you want to display. So I want to display 2. All right. So I'm going to do that for the third one as well. Control C. All right. So change this to 3. All right. Then I'll change this to 3. All right. Okay. So having done that, so all I just need to do is copy the name of these functions and go to my command. So in this case, my button 2, 1. All right. So command is equal to the function name. All right. So command is equal to, so again, copy the function name for the third button and put there. All right, so we are good to go now. So let's run this code and see how it works. So remember my initial code without running. If I click on 1, it shows 1. If I click on 2, nothing happens. So if I close this and run again, so let's say I click on 1, it displays 1. If I click on 2, it displays 2. If I click on 3, it displays 3. All right, so we can see how easy it is to design the graphic user interface in Python. So basically, you must remember the steps. Number 1 is for you to, first of all, do a design of how you want your graphic user interface to be. If you've done that, then the next step is know what library to use to develop your graphic user interface. So in this case, we have used Tkinter, which is a very popular library for developing graphic user interface. So the next step, which is the third step, is for you to create your window. After creating your window, you need to populate your window with the widgets you want to use. So you begin to add your windows step by step. So again, I've shown you how to add your windows. So sorry, your widgets on your window. So in this case, for this particular example, we created 2 frames. So I'll go through the codes again. So the first frame. So first we created a window using these lines of codes. And remember, always put this last code here. Otherwise, your window will run, but you won't see it. So you want to see your window when you run your code. Make sure you put this line of code. So after creating your window, you can define. Oh, so sorry about that. I lost my connection. So I'll just finalize. So we are almost at the end of the training for today. So I'll just quickly go through the codes again, then we finalize for today's class. So sorry about that. I lost the connection. It went off and it's just back on. Okay, so back to the code. Okay, so so for your codes, I've shown you how to create your window. So using this line of codes. Okay, so this helps you create your window. Then to create your frame, so I've shown you how to create your frame. So first you need to know how many frames you want to use. Then you need to know where you want to place the frames. Then you need to decide whether you want to fill the whole frame or expand it and all of that. So you can go and play with all of these later on. So after creating your frames, you need to create your other widgets that you wish to add to your frame. So in this case, I want to add buttons to my bottom frames frame. So to create your button, you need to create your variables like I've done, button 1, 2, 3. So you use the button widget function. So using button, then you need to decide where you want to place it. So in this case, I want to place it on my bottom frame. So you have to be specific. Otherwise, if you're not specific, if you remove this, it will automatically place it on the main window, just somewhere on the main window. So you don't want that. You want to be specific. So I want it to be placed on my bottom frame. Then you can specify the height, the width, and of course the location. So how you want it to be placed or arranged on your frame. So you can use your grid to specify the row, column. So go play with that. So you do this for all the buttons. So for you to see your action implemented on your button, let's say you want to click, you need to create your function, which I've done here. So click whatever function. If you want it to exit a file, save a file, whatever you want to do, you have to define it in your function. So once you define it, then you use the command. to call the function. And of course, you kind of implement your action. So for label, I'll show you how to create a label and how to place your label on your doc frame. So this is just a summary of what we've done today. And so if you have any questions or you're not clear about anything, you can either contact the organizers of this event, but I will send you the complete code of the one I did, which is this guy, this one. So for this complete code, you have something more to play with. So if I run it, so I have this. So you can go change the size, the font, the style, the color, play around with that, your text, your buttons. So you can decide to add more widgets. So this is where I'm going to end for today. I want to thank every one of you for joining. And if you have any question, let me just send the sharing.